In my last video I did the Mummy trilogy, and I was going to add the Scorpion King because I didn't realise there was 5 Scorpion King films. So I had to sit and watch 5 Scorpion King films. That was an experience. In watching these movies, I was surprised really about the actual quality of the films. So I'll go through each film individually. Obviously, the original Scorpion King from 2001 had the biggest budget because of the success of The Mummy Returns. Also, it had the cast of The Rock, but to my surprise, the original Scorpion King film is not the best out of all 5 of them. I mean, the first film was basically, let's see if we can make The Rock a movie star. That's essentially what it was. It was produced by Vince McMahon. He fronted up most of the money for the film, and then they decided to do a sequel. The sequel came out in 2008. It didn't have as big names. They brought in Randy Couture as like the big bad guy. For what it was okay. I mean, out of all 5 of the films, I'd say that this one was of the poorest quality. It seemed to be thrown together just because they needed like an origin story of the Scorpion King. In the story, what it was is he sees his father being killed by the Pharaoh at the time, and he goes and becomes a high-ranking army person and tries to take over. Once he comes back from being this elite force, the Pharaoh tells him to kill his own brother, which he doesn't do. He helps him escape and is outcast, and then has to go to the underworld to get the Sword of Damocles to kill Randy Couture. The second one was just building on the success of the first one. Then we get to the Scorpion King 3 and 4. I was shocked and surprised about these films because they were really well done. I enjoyed them a lot more than I enjoyed the first 2. They were good grounded stories. The characters were well built. They were just nice, fun stories to watch that did add to the story of the Scorpion King. The person who played the Scorpion King, he understood the character. He made him more grounded. Even though he is technically a demigod now, if he doesn't want big adventures anymore, he's done that. He should have a quiet life. The third and fourth one were obviously straight to DVD, and they did a lot better than the first 2. Then we get to the fifth one, which again was surprisingly really well. It continued the story, even though they'd recast the character of the Scorpion King. It was still a really well grounded story about how the Scorpion King doesn't want to be a king. He wants to just live a life and be left alone, but has to go through more of these trials and tribulations. The acting and stuff in the film was great. The story was a well-rounded story. It had a start and an end. For the 5 films of the Scorpion King, 3 are very enjoyable. I would probably go and watch 3, 4 and 5 again. As for the Scorpion King and the Scorpion King 2, it's not really worth watching again. When I went back and watched it, it was just so cringy. With the second one, it just didn't add anything. But it shows that even if you do continue a franchise after it's essentially died, that there can be some hits. I mean, they ended the Mummy franchise after the third one because it didn't do well. And in a way, I'm glad they didn't stop after the second one, because we wouldn't have had these 3 enjoyable stories. I think they should have had more attention than what they've got, because like I said, I didn't even realise there was 5. I thought there was only the 1 and 2. Overall, as a whole, I would probably give it 3 out of 5. The first 2 bring it down a bit. If it was each individual film on its own, the Scorpion King, I'd probably give about 1.5. With the Scorpion King 2, Rise of the Warrior, I'd be pushed to give it a 1. With the Scorpion King 3 Battle for Redemption, I think the name is very good because it did redeem itself from the other 2 films. It was a redemption. The character of the Scorpion King was so much better than he had been in these other 2 films. I don't think the actor who played Matthias the Scorpion King, that was Victor Webster. I think he came into this not wanting to copy what The Rock had done, and I think that is what made this group of films so much better. The 4th film, Quest for Power, again, Victor Webster. He wasn't on the quest for power, it was the quest for power for someone else. With the 5th Scorpion King, Book of Souls, it was Zach McGowan who was the Scorpion King in this film, and again, it was a more well-rounded character. It just shows that the story and the characters make a film. 3, 4 and 5, I would actually give them 4 stars. If you are going to go and watch all of them, I would just leave out 1 and 2. Hopefully I've piqued your interest, but until next time, see you later.